when it comes to hypocrisy, certain individuals let it roll off them like water off a duck's back. And when you're talking about having a short memory, when you're talking about revising history to frame it to your advantage, when you talk about someone who has no form of decency or dignity or respect, look no further than Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Now, I'm going to play a video, and once this video is complete, we're going to unpack this, right? Because this dude got some nerve. This dude really got some nerve. So let's get to it.
Mr. Cuccinelli, good to see you again. 64% of voters, including the majority of Black and Hispanic voters, want to strengthen voting safeguards and prevent fraud. That's what your organization is dedicated to.
Now, he's talking this stuff about voter fraud, right? Now, they're still carrying on this lie that the election was stolen from Donald Trump, okay? Now, he was one of the ones, along with Josh Hawley, that objected to the 2020 election, carrying on this lie that there was this massive, widespread voter fraud going around the country, right? They had 60 cases get thrown out. 60! 6-0! But this is what these white supremacists do. They had 60 cases thrown out of court because they would go to these hearings, and these, now mind you, these judges that were listening to these cases are Trump appointed judges. And these Trump appointed judges threw the case out of court, citing lack of evidence. Because when it comes time to be held in contempt and get held accountable for perjury, well, all of a sudden, I'm not here to talk about voter fraud. So what the fuck are you even in the courtroom for if you're not even talking about if there's no voter fraud? But leave it up to a banner like Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is running his fucking mouth talking about there's all this voter fraud going on and election integrity. Motherfucker, you don't practice integrity. Hell, you can't even spell integrity, for crying out loud. But yeah, you run around here talking about voter fraud, carrying on that fucking lie. Don't worry, Mr. Panther, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. We are going to get to that. Now let's continue with this bullshit. Let's continue with this goddamn kabuki theater.
If the Corrupt Politicians Act were to pass, it would strike down every voter ID law in the country. Would that protect the right to vote?
No, it undermines it. It undermines confidence in the outcome of elections as well, which is also a problem. I mean, this is a lawyer's committee, so I'll use a court analogy. It is not enough that our justice system produce the highest degree of accurate outcomes possible and just outcomes. It must be understood and viewed to produce those outcomes so that America can have confidence in its justice system. The same is true of our election system. It not only needs to work correctly, by which we mean producing an accurate vote count of legally eligible voters, but it also needs to be clearly seen to do so by winners and losers, so that we can have confidence in the outcome of our elections. I rattled off several in 2016, 18, and now a discussion following 20 in some places. It's worked on both sides. I've had the concern. There have been good reasons for it over the years. And I would just say, the reference to fraud, since it's Texas, the current Attorney General of Texas, Senator, respectfully, spoke recently about 500 plus different voter fraud prosecutions in Texas. It isn't that it doesn't.
Well, how is that possible? Democrats tell us that voter fraud never occurs in any circumstance anywhere in the universe.
Well, and of course, it has,
See, a Bama like Ted Cruz, right? See, that's a bad faith argument by Ted Cruz, because Ted Cruz conveniently ignores the fact that a lot of these people that were busted for voter fraud voted for Donald Trump. See, he conveniently leaves this out. But that's what a Bama like Ted Cruz does, right? He's not arguing in good faith. He's arguing to carry on the water for Donald Trump. And why would Ted Cruz carry water for Donald Trump? Why would he? Oh, well, maybe if it weren't for the fact that if he didn't carry water for Trump, he would lose out on some very sizable campaign donations into Ted Cruz. Is that an accurate assessment? Right? You'd be excavated from the group and you would lose out on some significant campaign donations. That's why you're running around here carrying on water for Donald Trump. You're carrying on this lie about all this widespread voter fraud. You're carrying on this whole notion that, oh man, we need more election integrity and we need more security and we need more confidence. I confidently think that you're a fucking idiot.
Congress and the House reran an election in 2019 because of it. It goes both ways. That was Republican operative committing fraud in that race in North Carolina. So this is not singular, but protection of vote.
And he brought up a good point. He brought up a really good point. What about all that gerrymandering that was going on in North Carolina? Ted Cruz, since you so concerned about election integrity, right? Since you're so concerned about the confidence in our elections and all that, what about all that gerrymandering that was going on in North Carolina? Oh, but you conveniently leave that out, right? You got a case of amnesia, Ted Cruz? Huh?
Voting, well, and that race was also ballot harvesting, was it not?
It was. Yeah, and absentee votes are particularly, and have always been known to be particularly vulnerable to fraudulent tactics.
So 29 states prohibit ballot harvesting. The Corrupt Politicians Act that Senate Democrats are pushing would strike down every one of those laws. Would striking down the restrictions on ballot harvesting, would that protect the right to vote?
Absolutely not. It undermines both the right and the confidence in the outcome of elections. So it does double harm.
Well, we have also seen lots of overwrought rhetoric about the Texas election integrity law, about the Georgia election integrity law. Indeed, we had just a few minutes ago.
Now, Ted Cruz, why would those laws be put in place? If, there was all this, if they did all kinds of recounts, all these recounts came back, Joe Biden being the winner, they counted and counted and counted and counted again, right? You even had Trump on a fucking voice call with the Georgia chief of staff. He called the chief of staff talking about, hey, I'm looking for 11,780 votes. See if you can find me 11,780 votes. So how do you explain that, Ted Cruz? Donald Trump was trying to run a goddamn mob operation from the presidency. The dude literally trying to throw his hand, trying to throw the rock with his hand and hide his hand. And here you are so concerned about election integrity. Why? Think about this, y'all. Donald Trump was one of the main Republicans that lost the election. He won his runoff. Not runoff. Ted Cruz won his election. Lindsey Graham won his election. Mitch McConnell won his election. Hell, they even gained seats in the House. So, if all this election fraud was true, shouldn't that mean that you should have lost your election, Ted Cruz? Shouldn't that mean Mitch McConnell lost his election? Shouldn't that mean Lindsey Graham loses his election along with Donald Trump? Because had Donald Trump won that election and y'all lost the election, right? Would you could be complaining about voter fraud? See, this shit don't even make any sense. And these white supremacists out here always twist themselves into pretzels to frame things to where it makes it look like they're the victim. They had wrong done to them. No, you guys were the fucking perpetrators. You guys are the motherfucking victimizers. So, Ted Cruz, if all this voter fraud was true, shouldn't that mean you should have lost the election? If all this voter fraud was true, because you ran in the last election, Ted Cruz. So if you ran your election and won, and Donald Trump ran his election and lost, but there's all this voter fraud, so shouldn't that mean you shouldn't have occupied the seat that you are occupying right now? I'm just asking questions. See, but they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to ask questions like that because it would expose all this bullshit that they're trying to carry water for. Now, let's continue on, right? Because we're going to get to the meat and the potatoes of the matter.
House Democrats from the Texas legislature who fled the state of Texas, who are not doing their jobs, who are hiding out here in Washington and engaged in a political stunt. What is interesting about the attacks on...
Now, this is what I really want to get to talking about. Because this motherfucker right here got some damn nerve to talk about people fleeing the state and not doing their job. So, Ted Cruz, you fucking hypocrite. Let's talk about you fleeing the country, not doing your job as a senator. So, how is it that in the middle of a crisis, right, where you had people out in Texas, right? Your constituents that voted your bum ass in the position you're in right now, right? So how is it that while those same people that voted your ass in the office lost power in one of the worst winter storms in recent memory for Texas, right? People lost power. People were literally burning furniture just to keep warm. People, for all intents and purposes, died in their fucking car. And here you are at an airport in Houston, Texas, trying to flee the... You don't even flee the state. You flee the country, for crying out loud. You're on a plane going down to Cancun, Mexico, so you can be there with your wife and kids and all that, holding hands, telling the stories, finding the sun, feet in the sand, telling all up in the lawn chairs and all that, right? Just chilling. But yeah, you want to talk about Texas Democrats leaving the state because they suspect that Texas Republicans running around here passing bills for voter suppression. They go up to D.C. to challenge the shit, and then you want to call yourself calling them out because they left Texas to go to D.C. to fight some bullshit-ass voter suppression bill that the Republicans trying to pass, and yeah, you take your ass down to goddamn Cancun, Mexico for funding a son of vacation because it was too cold and you didn't want to stay in there. Get the fuck out of here, goddamn hypocrite. You got some goddamn nerve to call yourself running your mouth about people fleeing the state. Here you are fleeing the country not that long ago. You think people forget about that? You think people forget that you fled the country all because it was too cold and all that? And my daughters had a tough week? Or your daughters had a tough week? Really, Ted Cruz? Let's see what else this Bama got to say.
That legislation is they're strikingly missing specifics. So, for example, the Texas election integrity law that is being debated right now requires voter ID for mail-in ballots. Does that protect the right to vote?
Absolutely, and I would note that it equalizes the protection of in-person voting as well, something that's happening in other parts of the country with the growth of mail-in voting.
So the Texas law that's also being debated prohibits officials from mailing unrequested mail-in ballots, from just taking everyone on the rolls and mailing them all ballots, even if they didn't ask for one.
That's correct.
Is that a provision that protects the right to vote?
Absolutely, and I'll give you a Northeast example in Connecticut, where their Secretary of State mailed out ballots to everyone in the voter rolls, their outdated rolls, in the primary and general election, and hundreds of thousands of those 3.6 million, if I remember my numbers correctly, of those ballots were returned with the supposed voter not at that residence. That's an enormous error rate to just lob blank opportunities to participate at clearly ineligible residences and voters.
So the Texas law that's being debated right now also mandates cameras and live streaming inside central count and early vote ballot board meetings, and mandates signature verification proceedings, cameras in large counties. Does that protect the right to vote as well?
See, what he's trying to do, right? What this bastard here is trying to do, he's trying to frame it in a way to where it'll get you to believe that that voter suppression bill that the GOP is trying to pass is not what people make it out to be. Because they were so concerned about election integrity, right? Was Ted Cruz concerned about election integrity when he won his election this past fall? No. The only person that was running his mouth about election fraud was Donald Trump, the man at the top. Was Mitch McConnell, that ventriloquist dummy with the burnt up jack off hand, was he worried about election integrity? No. So these are bad faith arguments, right? And you gotta pay attention to all the dog whistles. You gotta pay attention to all the other shenanigans that these white supremacists try to do to maintain their position of power, or try to reacquire the power that they lost. Now, aiding these white supremacists that's sitting in Congress are the media. Now, we all know that when Bama's like Ted Cruz wants to be interviewed, he goes on Fox News, right? Now, we're going to play a video of the Texas Democrat, one of them, who went up to D.C. to fight this voter suppression bill, right? Because, you know, they were talking to camel toe, oh, camel toe, right? Being challenged by a bad faith actor in Fox News journalists. Now, watch how these white supremacists get down. Because the rats love chewing each other up.
You have to prove who you are in order to vote.
So there are a lot of Texans, actually hundreds of thousands, who don't have a driver's license to vote.
How about having to send your ballot in? Should you have to prove who you are? Because that's what Democrats are opposing.
Pete, I just said I oppose voter ID. Currently, it's the law in Texas, but I oppose that law because I think you don't need it.
Now, see, this is what they do, right? What these media members would do, as soon as they hear something they want to hear, right? They want to interrupt, they want to step on, they want to cut people off and try to emphasize the point home like, oh man, you really oppose voter ID? Listen to this motherfucking Bama at work.
voter ID? You don't think the most sacred obligation of our republic, you should have to prove who you are in order to vote?
So there are a lot of Texans, actually hundreds of thousands, who don't have a driver's license, who don't drive
who
at
can't,
all.
do they have a social security number? Because
Wait,
according to this Republican law, you can put your last 4 digits of your social security number in as proof of who you are. Do they not? No, help me out. Do those people not have social security numbers? And who are these people that can't get ID?
All right, so this is the thing about that, right? So if you got a gun license, that's acceptable form of ID. Yes, you're right. If you got a gun license, that's an acceptable form of ID out in Texas to vote. And he knows this. He knows this. But see, he's here to distract. This fucking white supremacist, gray-haired bama off to the left, that Fox News right-wing nut is there to distract. That's his whole job in life, right? When you get jackasses like Jesse Waters that come on TV and say some shit like, well, you know, I didn't read the bill, but I can tell you what's on that bill is that. And there you go. Job done, right? That's what they're here to do. They're here to carry water for the whole white supremacist dynamic. And this was we at Black Empowerment is up against every single day. These people that you see on the screen, whether it be Ted Cruz, these two jackasses right here, these two jackoffs who should have been flushed down the toilet and all that, these individuals, the aforementioned individuals, what you see on your screen right here, right, is all part of white supremacy, right? And what do these white supremacists do? They win by any means necessary. So for Black Empowerment, we need to win by any means necessary. Stop trying to reason with these motherfuckers. These dudes come on TV all the time, talk the shit that they talk in bad faith. Because it's all about two things. If you've been on my channel, I've always talked about the two things that these white supremacists want to have: power and control. And power doesn't negotiate.
So, Pete, if you're talking about the bill that we're currently focused on, not pass Texas law, what this bill is going to do is not only reduce voting hours, it's also going to empower these partisan poll watchers who are going to look over voters' shoulders and prevent
partisan
them from
poll watchers. You mean the ones that weren't allowed in certain states at certain times in certain places, whether you agree with that or not? So Texas says maybe we should have partisan poll watchers on either side, Republicans and Democrats, right? It wouldn't just
see, that's bullshit too, because they do have poll watchers. Both of them have it on the Republican side and on the Democratic side. So this whole notion that, oh man, these poll watchers, they were allowed to do that, that's all bullshit, okay? That's all bullshit coming from the top.
Republicans.
Do you remember a second ago when I talked about the big lie? This is exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh. Now, see, you talk about the big lie, right? Now we're gonna get to the meat and potatoes of the matter, right? Because all the stuff about voter suppression, all these bills talk about voter integrity and all that is to cover their asses because we have the big lie. And just in case you were hiding under a rock, what is the big lie? I don't know. Oh yeah, I do know. Donald Trump was running his mouth talking about there was all this election fraud, right? Now, mind you, the motherfucker literally admitted on 2 different occasions that, one, if he won the election, then it would be the most accurate election he's ever seen. If he lost the election, he literally said that he was going to cry fraud, and that's exactly what he did. He said that on 2 different occasions. Donald Trump did, and yet we still got people out here carrying water for this guy and being complicit in the lie. Now let's get down to business.
the reason that so many folks
You
believe in this
just
country
you just
is
got
because
went
folks
on
like
national
you get on
television, James,
every
and
night
said
and
you
repeat
don't
the lie
want
over and
voter
over again.
ID. We're not talking about that. You just went on national television and said you don't want voter ID, revealing exactly what Democrats. And it's so condescending to say that people can't get identification. Have you found someone in your district that can't get identification?
You have made a lot of money personally, and you've enriched a lot of corporations with advertising by getting on here and spewing lies and conspiracy theories to folks who trust you. And so what I'm asking you to do is to tell your voters right now that Donald Trump
at least you resolved the lie that is. At least you resolved the lie that is. Democrats are now for voter ID. It's not your show, sir. But at least you resolved the idea that Democrats are not for voter ID.
In 2020,
real quick.
can you answer?
See? Now you see what that Democratic person did, right? You see what that Democratic person did. Now he talked about the big lie and why we had all this stuff, right? And flat out asked him, right? Because these white supremacists out here, they do all this shit for money. Why do you think Ted Cruz is running around here acting like he's he's so concerned about election integrity and we got to put a stop to all this stuff that's going on when it comes to these people out here committing voter fraud and all that, right? Because it goes back, and the Texas Democrats just talked about it, right? He's a white supremacist too. Don't get me wrong. The motherfucker's a white supremacist, useless hack too. But still, he brought up a point. They do this shit for money, for advertisement. Because if they don't do this shit, they're going to be out of a job. You're going to get excommunicated from the group. This is the Trump party as we speak. You got to be all in. The minute you decide to go against the grain, your ass is out of here. And he knows this. He can't even answer the question. He can't even bring himself to concede that this whole thing was based on a lie. He knows that. He knew that election was some bullshit. Talk about all this voter fraud going on. He knows that, but yet he's not going to say that. And he proved, and he literally didn't say it. Instead, he tried to put on this posturing act about, this is my show, and I ask the questions here, not you. And we're going to move on to something else. No different than when Ted Cruz was busted. You had people literally on social media. They took a picture of the Bama. They posted it on social media. It's all over the place. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. Ted Cruz, Bama ass was on that goddamn photo. And yet, you got these white supremacists like Fox News trying to play posturing games. Well, we tried to call his aides, and we couldn't confirm that was Ted Cruz on the photo. We all know what Ted Cruz looked like, okay? We don't need you to confirm shit. But that's what they try to do. They try to posture and try to make it out like, we tried to do our due diligence, but we just couldn't get a hold of Ted Cruz, or we just couldn't get a hold of anybody for comment. Why is that? Huh? Why is that? What's up, Celtics Nation 67, DJ7 for life, my homie Luda Rider Sports. Who else is up in this bitch? Mr. Pazza, Pink Meadows, my sister, right? I wish Too Raw for TV was in here, man. But that's the truth of the matter. It's all about these voter suppression bills, all this bullshit that's out here is to support the big lie. Now, let's listen to more of this diarrhea of the mouth.
Answer the question. Did Donald Trump lose the election in 2020?
I'm answering questions. Don't really feel any obligation to answer anything.
An uncomfortable question for you?
No, it's my question is, why are you in Washington, D.C. and not in Texas when your job is in Texas? Because it's inevitable.
All right, so let me ask you this, right? Why didn't you ask Ted Cruz that when Ted Cruz took his ass down to Cancun, Mexico? You fucking hypocrite. Why did you not ask Ted Cruz that same question you asked that Democrat when Ted Cruz decided to take his ass down to Cancun, Mexico. See, they couldn't have a guy like me on TV, okay? Because if I was this, of course, I would never be this white supremacist Democrat off to the right? But I will be a black politician for black empowerment, pushing for reparations. And no, not Cori Bush, because I can't be bought and paid for. I can't be bought. I can't be sold. I can't be negotiated. Cori Bush, on the other hand, can be bought and paid for and negotiated and all that stuff. I don't negotiate. What I want, I take. And what I want is black empowerment, and what I want is reparations. And goddamn it, in my power, I'm gonna take that shit. I'm gonna get my fucking reparations for my people. That Bama couldn't have me on there, because as soon as he said that, I would have said this. So, you had the same energy for Ted Cruz when he took his ass down to Cancun, Mexico? No, you don't have that same energy, because we already know what this is all about. That dude is a fucking clown, okay? This weak-ass, punk-ass bitch of a white supremacist ain't nothing but a fucking clown. Him and Ted Cruz both.
That this bill is going to pass. Eventually, you're going to have to pay your hotel bill and go back to Texas, and Governor Abbott will declare a special session. So you're being used by national Democrats to try to pass H.R. 1 to federalize elections, which you as a Harvard grad should know better, because the Constitution puts that in the hands of state legislators who are supposed to be in their state, and you happen to be in Washington, D.C.
So why did you not tell that to Ted Cruz when people was losing when people was losing power, people were losing their lives, and yet he took his ass down to Cancun, Mexico for 4 days of fun in the sun with his family? Why did you tell Ted Cruz that? Bitch, you punk bitch.
I don't understand how you square that circle.
I can answer. So, based on the oath that I took for this office, I have to uphold the Constitution. I have to uphold our democratic system. And I, as a Texas Democrat, I'll tell you this: we lose a lot on the floor of the Texas House. We lose votes on abortion and guns and immigration.
Are you going to flee the state on those? Why is this number one? Is this the biggest?
Democracy is supposed to work.
All right,
the reason
we're going back.
The reason this is different is that they're trying to rig the rules of the game.
Oh, rig the rules of the game. I see. Asking people to prove who they are. Real quick, I'm going to end with this.
Democracy itself.
No, and you are rigging the rules of the game, because that's what you white supremacists do. You rig things all the time. Shove aside the voter suppression bill for a sec. Let's talk about slavery, right? Because you white supremacists out there always try to rewrite the book on slavery through textbooks, through legislation, through bills, to the point where you can't even have people talk about it. So if racism and slavery wasn't a thing, will the United States be a thing? I'm just wondering, because our founding farmers, because you always want to talk about the Constitution and the founding farmers and all that, but you know what? Those founding farmers were the same one that was out here buying and selling slaves, raping them, having babies by them, but yet you don't want to talk about that. Here's the link if anybody wants to come in. Yeah, you don't want to talk about that. But yeah, y'all want to practice your white supremacy every fucking day. Because it always goes back to two things. It always goes back to power and control. You use your power to control the minds of the individuals that's out here. You do it through your legislature, you do it through money, you do it through resources, you do it through healthcare, and any other avenue that's going to put you at the advantage. I don't like none of these motherfuckers, man. I'm checking. Look, if you, man, let's just keep going. Let's listen to this bullshit some more.
Party's been obsessed with COVID standards, yet the CDC and the White House says we need to wear one on a plane. Why didn't you guys?
So all of us are fully vaccinated. I got on a plane without a mask.
If you're fully vaccinated, can I get on a plane then?
Okay, here we go. See, here we go with that shit. Now we want to switch topics to, oh man, well, you know, you guys, Donald Trump is running around here not practicing any kind of CDC protocols and all that. Them Republicans violate CDC protocols on a nightly basis. Hell, people on your network was violating CDC protocols on a nightly basis, and here you are, call yourself trying to, oh, why, you know, now you all of a sudden now y'all worry about CDC guidelines. Y'all have practiced them all from the inception of this pandemic, and yet all of a sudden now you so concerned with goddamn CDC guidelines. Get the fuck out of here. You guys so concerned about voter ID and election integrity. Meanwhile, in Georgia, if someone even offers you a hot dog, they can go to jail. So you expect people to wait 11 hours because it's not that, oh, well, these guys, you consolidate all the ballot areas and you know, there's no more, you can't have drop boxes no more, and you expect people to wait out in lines for 11 hours, don't get water, don't get food, don't get nothing. Anyone that offers them can be prosecuted for that. But yet there's nothing wrong with there's all this widespread voter fraud. We just doing it for election integrity, right? You motherfuckers can't even spell integrity, let alone practice it, and yet y'all running around here talking about integrity. You got Bammers like Ted Cruz got the nerve to have the word integrity come out his mouth. The fuck out of here, dude. Get the hell out of here. See, what you see here is dog whistle politics, okay? Now, if you don't know what a dog whistle is, right? I'm going to do it in a literal sense. So say I got a Rottweiler, right? And I got a whistle, right? Once I blow that whistle, only the Rottweiler will hear it. Nobody else will hear it. And he'll come to me, right? Now, let's take that simple definition and apply that to politics, right? A dog whistle in politics is code words that are used to energize a base while not pissing off the other side. That's dog whistle politics in a nutshell. And you got to be able to determine when and how these white supremacists out here are using dog whistles. Because see, instead of you guys and gals out here want to be on the Xbox and talk about the next Nicki Minaj song that's coming out, or you know, or what nightclub you're going to go to that night so you can get a little scummy and try to get a little pussy, you got to worry about what these white supremacists out here trying to do to us on a nightly basis and all that. Y'all want to run out here and get mad at Bill Cosby for Bill Cosby being let out of prison when his Fifth Amendment right clearly got violated, and then you ignorant asses want to sit up here and talk about, oh, well, he got out on a technicality. So how was someone's rights being violated a technicality? What's up, Maxwell's Royalty? I just want to know. No one can seem to answer that question for me. How is Bill Cosby's Fifth Amendment rights being violated a technicality? See, and then you try to make your little argument, don't even fucking make sense. You got white supremacists and they black bootlegs trying to put the rule fuck to you every fucking day, and yet you worried about Bill Cosby getting let out of prison. But you don't got that same energy for Allison Mack, who is running a sex cult, branding other women like they're goddamn cattle. Not only she only get like a couple years in jail, she don't even got to register as a sex offender. Y'all should be outraged about that. Cardi B was running around here drugging and robbing men, and you saying people that was throwing your hands up about Bill Cosby was giving her the excuse of, oh man, well, you know, she was trying to support her way of life. She was trying to do what she had to do to survive. Hypocrites. Flat out hypocrites. And you saying people get mad at Bill Cosby dance to her fucking music. to that fucking racist bitch. She don't want to be called black, but yet she's using racial epithets of black people. That makes you a racist, and yet you motherfuckers are here dancing her fucking music. This girl's a known rapist on TV, and yet you want to get mad at Bill Cosby. Fucking hypocrites. Yet these white supremacists out here passing laws, gunning you down like fucking dogs, and y'all ain't got no smoke for that. That's why I don't like, man, look. That's why I keep my circle tight, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't like no fucking weirdos around me, man. For real. I don't want no goddamn weirdo around me. Because if you can't put things in its proper context, if you can't see what the fuck is going on around you, I don't want you around me because you're dangerous. You're dangerous to black empowerment. That's straight up, man. That's straight up facts, man. I don't want no fucking weirdo around me. I don't want nobody that's not willing to learn, not willing to see what the fuck's going on, not willing to be able to recognize when someone's trying to plot some shit against you. You just impervious to everything that's going on around you, right? All you trying to do, you just trying to focus on you. You just trying to do you, right? I'm just trying to get mine. Fuck everybody else. Disgusting. Now, we're going to talk about something because it just Ted Cruz that we're going to talk about. He was just the main topic. But we're going to talk about another thing because when it comes to these Republicans and Democrats, I have no affiliation with neither party. I'm on the party of black empowerment. I'm on the party for reparations. I'm on the party to see my fellow brothers and sisters get their just deserves. Now we're going to talk about sloppy Joe Biden, aka the 46th president of the United States, right? Now, and I saw this on Lisa Cabrera's channel, so I want to make sure that she gets the nod, and because that's where I first saw this at. Now, look at this. Biden asked for United Nations investigation into contemporary racism in the United States. Now, I find this funny that Joe Biden is, asking the United Nations, considering that one, the United Nations, the only reason those foreigners got money is because of slavery as well. These guys had slaves as well. How do you think they got here to the United States? The cotton industry, right? Who was in there picking all that cotton the way these guys here obtaining all kind of wealth and all other forms of benefits, right? Them cotton didn't pick themselves. It was slaves that was picking that shit, right? But aside from all that, just a few short months ago, you had that buck dancing beaver Tim Scott running his mouth talking about there's no racism in America. And Kamala Harris backed his ass up. When she's not backing that ass up, she's backing his ass up saying that bullshit. Talk about there's no racism in America. Right? So how do we get this? Ain't no racism in America, right? Now, in case you might have forgotten, right? I'm gonna come back to this screen right here. I'm gonna come back to that screen. But just in case you might have forgotten, right? I want you to hear from the horse's mouth.
America is not a racist country. I have experienced the pain of discrimination. I know what it feels like to be pulled over for no reason, to be followed around the store while I'm shopping.
Now, I want y'all to listen to that again, right? He said there was no racism in America, but then he contradicts himself by explaining the racism that was displayed against him. You can't make this stuff up, man. You cannot make this shit up, bro. You can't. You cannot make this shit up. Now that came on the heels of the of Biden's first message to Congress, right? Because every time the president gives their address to the nation or to the Congress or whatever, right, the opposite party will have a rebuttal, and this was the rebuttal to Joe Biden's address. Right? Now let's listen on to what this black, clean-shaven, face looked like a fucking nutsack had to say.
I remember every morning at the kitchen table, my grandfather would open the newspaper and read it, I thought. But later I realized he had never learned to read it. He just wanted to set the right example. I've also experienced a different kind of intolerance. I get called Uncle Tom and the N-word by progressives, by liberals. Just last week, a national newspaper suggested my family's poverty was actually privilege because a relative owned land generations before my time. Believe me, I know firsthand our healing is not finished. In 2015, after the shooting of Walter Scott, I wrote a bill to fund body cameras. Last year, after the deaths of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, I built an even bigger police reform proposal. But my Democratic colleagues blocked it. When America comes together, we've made tremendous progress, but powerful forces want to pull us apart. 100 years.
You buck dancing beaver, who are these powerful forces that's trying to pull us apart? Because I can make the argument that America is even more divided now than it was when we first started. So who are these powerful forces, right, trying to pull us apart when the country's already been apart? What are you talking about? And before these motherfuckers, before you jackasses are talking about stand up for your rights and all that, coming on here and talk about bringing another black man down, look, I done told you jackasses, right? This is not the dog you want to call yourself barking at, right? This ain't the tree that you dogs want to run around here call yourself trying to piss on and shit, okay? This motherfucker is a coon, okay? He's a super coon to the 10th power, okay? I think he makes his living cooning. I think he injects steroids for cooning. So don't bring your ass on here talking that bullshit. I'm gonna block your ass from here to Pakistan.
Ago, kids in classrooms were taught the color of their skin was their most important characteristic. And if they looked a certain way, they were inferior. Today, kids... But
there's no reason... So you pointed to yourself, right? Talk about if they looked a certain way and pointed to yourself that they looked inferior. So you did all that, but then in the same breath, you want to say there's no racism in America? Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Are you fucking kidding me? Seriously, Tim Scott. That what you trying to say? That what you trying to sell people? That America's not a racist country? Okay. America is very much a racist country. That's why you see these Karens getting their asses beat. And you see these Brads getting their head kicked in. Because we're not tolerating this nonsense no more. You drop the N-word and we're going to drop you on the sidewalk where you stand.
They're being taught that the color of their skin defines them again. And if they look a certain way, they're an oppressor. From colleges to corporations to our culture, people are making money and gaining power by pretending we haven't made any progress at all. By doubling down on...
Have you not benefited off that same money that you so-called railing against, Tim Scott? Have you not made money? Had you not benefited from the same thing that you're railing against, Tim Scott? I'm just asking a question. So don't make yourself out to be the stand-up guy that's on the up and up and, you know, I'm out here fighting these demons on the daily. Get the fuck out of here. Who you think you fooling? Who you think you fooling?
On the divisions we've worked so hard to heal. You know this stuff is wrong.
You know this stuff is wrong too, and yet you do nothing about it.
Hear me clearly.
No.
America is not a racist country.
America not a racist country, but yet you just literally pointed the atrocities of America, right? Now, let's listen on the word camel toe, oh camel toe. So America is not a racist country, but she also said that we have to speak truth about the history of racism in the country and its existence today. But I thought you said there was no racism. I thought you don't think America is a racist country, but yet we got to look at the history and speak the truth about its racism. So which one is it? See, one thing that these jackasses is good at doing is double talking. They talk out both sides of their mouth. You don't know what individual you need to trust. The things that they say or the things that they don't say. This woman literally came out of her mouth and said that she don't think America is a racist country, but we have to speak the truth about the history of racism and its existence today. So which one is it? Is America a racist country or is not?
Our best future will not come from Washington schemes or socialist dreams. It will come from you, the American people, Black, Hispanic, white, and Asian, Republican and Democrat, brave police officers in Black neighborhoods. We are not adversaries.
You guys are disgusting. You guys are part of the problem. You guys want to run around here and talk about everything. We need to come together as a nation, and yet you guys can't even come together on different issues that's plaguing this country. But yet you expect the whole country to come together, sing songs, hold hands, tell stories about life and all that, and everything should be hunky-dory, right? Get the fuck out of here. You guys can't even come together on simple bills. We're talking about infrastructure, foreign policy. We're talking about issues within the black community, right? Jobs, taxes, healthcare. You guys cannot seem to come together, but yet y'all want the country to come together, right? You got that buck dancing ass, coon ass, Stephen from Django looking fuck who only good for fish fries and Jim Clyburn wanna. I'm gonna create this bill for we're gonna lift every voice and sing, and then we're gonna find a day that every American can hold hands, and we're gonna sing this song, lift every voice and sing. Get the fuck out of here. So when the song over with, right? Is that our reparations? Is that what you gonna push, Jim Clyburn? Right? Is that what you gonna push? You coon ass motherfucker. That's what you gonna push? Huh? Hey, after we sing this song, well, job done. Right? Get the fuck out of here, man. Ain't nobody trying to listen to that, man. Get out of here. We done. We done playing games with you motherfuckers. Period. And the sooner a lot of you black bootlicks out there will realize that, the better off we'll be. Now, let's get back to this, right? Let's get back to this. So there's no racism in America and whatever else, right? The Rottweiler fecal matter from a two-legged Rottweiler, right? And Tim Scott and a two-legged Cocker Spaniel and Kamala Harris, right? But why we got the UN coming in investigation into contemporary racism? Why? Why is that? Let's see what this bullshit says, right? This comes from the Star. The Biden administration is inviting the United Nations to investigate contemporary racism and treatment of minorities in the United States. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken announced a request for an international investigation of racism on American soil. So we're going to have outsiders come in and investigate racism in America. Let me make sure I'm hearing this right. We're going to have outsiders come in and investigate racism. Okay, and let's just say on the off chance that they do find some form of racism in legislation or whatever like that. What are you guys going to do about it? Because if I'm a maverick, I would like to believe that you guys aren't going to do a goddamn thing about it. Now, mind you, Joe Biden himself is a racist and a white supremacist. Kamala Harris herself is a goddamn racist and a white supremacist because she's not black. You can go down the line of the individuals that sit in position of power, whether it be from a federal, whether it be from a state, or your local area. All those individuals are white supremacists. Hell, down to the citizens themselves. You got citizens, you got these Karens all the time running their mouth, trying to accuse black people of stealing cell phones and all that type of shit. You got Karens going off at a goddamn Victoria's Secret, all because they was being fun because they were trying to display their white supremacy. And Ted Cruz got some nerve talking about, well, we need to have all these election integrity, especially for the people of color. The fuck out of here, dude. You guys ain't fooling nobody. You guys ain't fooling nobody. Responsible nations must not shrink from scrutiny of their human rights record. Rather, they should be transparent with the intent to grow and do better. That's why I'm announcing a formal invitation for UN Special Rapporteur on contemporary forms of racism to visit the United States. The request for a UN investigation for contemporary racism comes as the Biden administration and Democrats put a heavy focus on white supremacy and alt-right groups in the wake of the January 6th storming of the Capitol. We need to go deeper than that. It should not be the white supremacists, right? Just because you a KKK or a Proud Boy or oh man, another group slipped my mind. But either way, so white supremacy goes past the alt-right extremist group. Okay? Now I just laid out how Joe Biden is a white supremacist, how goddamn Mitch McConnell and Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley is a white supremacist. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Joe Manchin. Trump himself, all them dudes are white supremacists, right? But oh man, you know, all we focus on the Proud Boys and the KKK and all these other alt-right groups. They're not the only white supremacists out here. Matt Gaetz, all them dudes out there white supremacists, man. All of them. And they want to sit up here and put up bad faith arguments, talk about what's going on in Haiti and what's going on in Cuba as a prop. They're not putting no kind of good stock in their arguments. It's bad faith arguments to get the goddamn framework in their advantage, to their liking, to get their base energized. What's up, Stephanie? Look, we got problems here in America, right? And I'm not even talking about white supremacists, right? Even though white supremacy is the dominating factor of why we got the issues we got going on here in America. But they don't want to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about that. All they want to talk about is Captain Crunch cereal and whatever else jackassery that comes out their mouth on a nightly basis. They want to talk about everything else but the main issue, and that the main issue is white supremacy and its root. Because these bammers want you to believe that the only types of white supremacy out here is with the extremist groups, with the KKK and the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and all that. Those are your extreme white supremacists, right? But if you look at the politicians right there, if you look at the doctors, the lawyers, right? When those stormtroopers infiltrated the Capitol January 6th, they weren't just all Proud Boys and alt-right groups. You had CEOs. You had Olympians. You had police officers. Hell, you had active duty military service members, for crying out loud. You had Burger King workers, janitors, mid-level executives. All kinds of people stormed that Capitol on January 6th. It wasn't just Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. So what the fuck are they talking about? Lawyers, politicians, doctors, surgeons. The gas station attendant, pilots, bus drivers, dog shit scoopers, zookeepers, you name it, they were there on January 6th. It wasn't just no goddamn alt-right groups. Teachers, people who People who work at Victoria's Secret. Hell, politicians themselves were on that. Were some of the part of the stormtroopers on January 6th. And why were they there on January 6th? Because for months, Trump was peddling that bullshit ass lie about the goddamn election fraud. That's all I got for now, man. We will continue to spend on that shit. Because as the months and weeks go by, we're going to learn more. In greater detail than we've already learned up to this point. 6 months since this insurrection attempt happened, and yet we're still learning more by the day. Oh yeah, by the way, these goddamn members in the Congress don't even want to pass a bill that investigates what happened on that day. Whether it be about Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene and all these other Matthew Gates, all these Jim Jordan, right? Jim Jordan, and I'm still waiting on your white supremacist ass to talk about why you did them kids dirty at Ohio State. See, you got a lot to say when it comes to everything else, but when it comes to them kids at Ohio State, you ain't got nothing to say. Now all of a sudden, now you got a mute button. You can shut your bitch ass up. Right? But all this shit that's going on, but there's no racism in America, right? And we don't get the fuck out of here. What happened with Ohio State? Well, Stephanie, I'll let you know what happened with Ohio State. I got some time. I'll tell you. So Jim Jordan was a wrestling coach. Matter of fact, he was the assistant wrestling coach. I'd say from about 1987 to about 1994, somewhere around that time frame, right? I may have the numbers mixed up, but don't get hung up on that, right? So while he was an assistant with the assistant wrestling coach, a number of wrestlers approached him about how the team doctor was sexually assaulting them, and he did nothing about it. He knew about it, didn't do a damn thing about it. And as of about a couple weeks ago, a month ago, so an ESPN report came out that 29 more people came out and spoke out against Jim Jordan. And did Jim Jordan have any energy towards that? No. He had all energy in the world to push Trump's election line, but he had no energy for that. Wonder how that is. I wonder how this attack dog, right, where you let this attack dog out the cage, and all of a sudden now this motherfucker's a goddamn pit bull. But when it comes to them kids at Ohio State, this attack pit bull all of a sudden now is like a goddamn poodle. Ain't got shit to say. Now, the one thing I pointed out throughout this whole hour and some more minute diatribe, right, where I'm going off about this and going off about that, is if you take nothing away from what I say, take this one thing away, right? If you take nothing else, take this one thing away from what I'm saying. These white supremacists out here trying to win by any means necessary. They don't play by no rules. They don't play by no code of conduct. They don't play by no ethics. They don't play by no standards. They are here to win and dominate by any means necessary, by any avenue, by hook or by crook. And for us to get our black empowerment, we don't need to be out here trying to reason with these motherfuckers that ain't trying to reason with us. Because power concedes nothing. And that's all I got for now. If you're not a subscriber to this channel, hit the subscribe button along with the bell icon. That way you'll be notified whenever I go live. If you are a subscriber, check and make sure YouTube hasn't unsubscribed you. Shouts out to the LDBC. Be one for life. This your boy. Scream at me. Oh!